How's it going, everybody? My name is LuckyBunz, and in today's video we're going to be covering some of the best budget Pokemon that you can power up in Pokemon GO in 2022. This has probably been one of my most requested videos all year, and I do apologize for not getting it out sooner, but my full-time job does take priority. That being said, I think making this video mid-year does also make sense too. Looking back, I can give you guys a clearer idea of Pokemon that you may have caught within the past few months, and if any of them are actually worth powering up. Now before we get started, I do want to run through some important details, but if you guys do want to skip straight to the list of Pokemon featured, feel free to use the timestamps down below. Although I do really recommend watching this next portion. So the first thing that we're going to be talking about are going to be Pokemon levels and why level 30 is the most you should actually power up a Pokemon in the beginning. So for those who don't know, level 30 is actually 90% of a Pokemon's maximum potential out of level 40. This is also around the time Stardust and candy costs increase and CP decreases by half when you power it up. CP being combat power. Now don't get me wrong, getting your Pokemon to level 40 and eventually to level 50 is definitely something to work towards long term, just not in the beginning. Your main focus should be to build teams of 4 to 6 for raid battles of each relevant typing. Now in order to achieve this in the most effective way, this is why you should focus on getting them to level 30 first and then level 40 later on. Keep in mind, power creeps are also going to happen, and what may be the best now might not be the best later. The next thing that we're going to talk about is going to be catching and evolving high level Pokemon even if the IVs aren't that great. Now I do need to clarify this because I know a lot of players actually have this so confused in terms of like thinking that IVs are so much more valuable than they actually are. Don't get me wrong, IVs do matter, but this is the correct order of importance. It goes base stats, shadow bonus, and then IVs. So again, IVs do matter, but not more than these other factors. So for example, if I took a 0% IV Mewtwo compared to a 100% IV Espeon, the Mewtwo would be way better, because Mewtwo's base stats are significantly better, along with its moveset. They are so much higher that the IVs on Espeon don't actually help it comparatively. You have to think about IVs as an additional boost to the base stats, which can go up by 15 per IV. Now I did just mention Pokemon levels, so I'm sure some of you are probably wondering, well, what are Pokemon levels and how can I actually tell what level is my Pokemon? So to keep it simple, you can tell by the Stardust required to power up your Pokemon. For example, Pokemon hatched and caught from raids are going to be level 20, requiring 2500 Stardust to power them up. If that raid Pokemon was weather boosted though, you will catch it at level 25, which costs 4000 Stardust to power it up. Level 29/level 30 require 5000 Stardust to power up your Pokemon. And then additionally, if you are high enough level in the game, you can catch all the way up to level 35 Pokemon in the wild if they are weather boosted. So now let's say if you caught a level 1 Ralts in the wild, which is 98% IV, and then you also caught a level 30 Ralts in the wild, which was 78% IV. If you're a new player, which one should you evolve and power up? So the trade-off here is that if you want to get that Ralts with 98% IV to level 30, it's going to cost you 119,000 Stardust and 122 candy. Now if you just evolved the level 30 Ralts, you would save all that Stardust and candy. Sure, the IVs are not going to be as good as the lower level, but that's alright. The IVs are not going to make the biggest difference in terms of that Gardevoir being that much better. Only a little bit. And then on top of that, you can also use the candy that you saved to evolve another high level Gardevoir that you catch in the wild. Remember, the goal in the beginning is not to aim for perfection, but rather to focus on building a solid team of 4 to 6 for each typing. You can always upgrade later on. Now lastly, let's quickly go over lucky Pokemon. These are rare versions of Pokemon that you can only get from trading. They will cost half the Stardust to power up. And while these are typically rewarded at random when trading, once you actually hit best friends with somebody, 90 days of friendship interaction, you will have a chance to trigger lucky friends when interacting with them in the future. This means that on your next trade with that friend, you will get a guaranteed lucky trade. Now with that being covered, the Pokemon featured in this video are going to be mainly focused on raid/gym attackers, but I could definitely do PvP Pokemon, or PvP budget Pokemon I should say, if there's enough interest for that, so let me know in the comment section down below. And on that note, if there's actually a video you guys really want me to make, or even an older guide that you feel could be updated, let me know in the comment section down below as well. The main reason I actually prioritize doing this video opposed to all the other video suggestions I've been getting is because of how many comments I got asking for it. And then finally, just to clarify, while some of these Pokemon on this list are going to be amazing picks, most of the Pokemon mentioned are going to be temporary solutions until you get better ones later on in your Pokemon GO journey. If you're curious which Pokemon these are, then definitely check out my top best Pokemon list or my top 30 shadow list, which are both going to be linked in the description down below. Now with that being said, we've pretty much gone through all of the important details, so now let's jump straight into the Pokemon. And of course guys, at any point in time, if you have questions, just feel free to comment them down below. Alright, so the first category of Pokemon that we're going to be going over are going to be trade evolutions. After being traded, these Pokemon will cost you anywhere from 25 to 50 candy to evolve it to its second stage form, so let's use Machop as an example. So Machop evolves into Machoke, that costs 25 candy, but then when you evolve it into Machamp, its third stage form, it's not going to cost you any candy whatsoever if you traded it beforehand. So this would normally cost you 100 candy. So you can see here that if you, in theory, caught 6 level 30 versions of Machop, and you mirror traded them with somebody, you could have a stacked team of fighters without having to accumulate too much candy in total. Typically, if they were already level 30, you would only need 150 candy to evolve them from Machop to Machoke and then get the free evolution to Machamp. And again, at level 30, they're already battle ready. You just have to, TM them to the right movesets, and you're pretty much good to go. So that is massive. And if you trade enough of these, you might even get a few lucky versions as well, which are only going to cost you half the amount of Stardust to power them up further. So of course, we just used our first Pokemon as an example here, which is going to be Machamp with Counter and Dynamic Punch. That's going to be the ideal moveset, and that does evolve from Machop into Machoke and eventually into Machamp. I'm going to try to break down all of the base stage, second stage, and third stage forms. This was a comment I had got in previous years, kind of just for newer players who don't really know the Pokemon that well, so I know it might sound a little bit repetitive for those of you that are veteran players, but just bear with me. Alright, now the next Pokemon is going to be Gengar. So Gengar is very meta relevant in the Ghost type category, and it also has a Mega Evolution form. So your best Gengar obviously is going to be the one that you do want to power up to level 50 at some point in time, but for right now we're just going to use the level 30 baseline still. So the ideal moveset for Gengar is going to be Shadow Claw or Lick, plus Shadow Ball. Now the first stage form for Gengar is going to be Ghastly, which evolves into Haunter, and then eventually into Gengar. Following that, the next two Pokemon are going to actually cost you a bit more candy to evolve to their second stage form. They will cost you 50 candy, and the first Pokemon is actually going to be a raid exclusive Pokemon. Sorry, not raid exclusive, raid and hatch exclusive. So that Pokemon is going to be Conkeldurr, which is actually one of the best fighting type Pokemon in the game currently, not including Shadow Pokemon. So the ideal moveset for Conkeldurr is going to be Counter plus Dynamic Punch. Now the base stage form for Conkeldurr is going to be Timber, which evolves into Girder with 50 candy, and then if you did the trade evolution, you're going to save 200 candy evolving from Girder to Conkeldurr, so a massive discount. And then finally, our last Pokemon on this list is not going to be a super meta-breaking Pokemon, but it's definitely a really solid option to add to your Rock type team. That is going to be Gigalith, with Smackdown and Rock Slide. The base stage form for Gigalith is going to be Roggenrola, which evolves into Bulldor and then eventually into Gigalith. Once again, this Pokemon is definitely meta-relevant in terms of the Rock-type category, but you're going to have a lot better options later on. We also have another Rock-type Pokemon I'm going to mention in this video. Well, actually, maybe like 2 more Rock-type Pokemon. Now, there were other Pokemon that were featured under the Trade Evolution category, but I just didn't feel like they were worth going over. Either they were PvP-centric, or they just weren't that meta-relevant anymore. For example, Golem would function under this Trade Evolution as well, but Gigalith is a much better option, so that's why I recommended Gigalith and I didn't mention Golem. I think in a previous year's video, though, I did go over Golem as well. But again, updates are definitely going to happen as we continue to make these videos moving forward. Moving on over to our next category of Pokemon, we're going to be talking about Eeveelutions next. So you can use a name trick on each of these Pokemon, but I would recommend against this until you get 100% IV Eevee. That's really the best time to use it. Don't use it on anything else, because when you get that Hundo, especially when you're going for Flareon, Jolteon, or Vaporeon, it's going to be randomized if you don't use a name trick. So save the Hundo for those evolutions, or sorry, save the name trick when you get the Hundo for those evolutions. On that note as well, each evolution does have a different method to evolving without the name trick, but to save time, I've already made a separate video going over this, so if you are curious about each evolve method, you can feel free to check that out in the description down below or in the top right corner right now. Now in general, Eevee is a very accessible Pokemon in the wild. It's only going to cost you 25 candy to evolve for any of the Eeveelutions as well, so whenever you see them, I do highly recommend using Pineapple Berries. You can build out teams very quickly just using Eeveelutions. So the first Eeveelution that we're going to be talking about is going to be Flareon with Fire Spin and Overheat. Once again, you have way better options in terms of Fire-type Pokemon currently, but Flareon is a really solid budget-type Pokemon. Again, if you've already used a name trick, or if you're not using the name trick, I should say, Flareon is going to be a randomized Pokemon that you get when you evolve Eevee typically. You could either get Flareon, Vaporeon, or Jolteon. It doesn't function like the main series games. There are no evolution stones, so it will be randomized, and again, Flareon is the only one that has actually maintained somewhat meta-relevance in its category. Vaporeon is severely outclassed, Jolteon is definitely outclassed, but Flareon still kind of holds up a little bit. The next Eeveelution is going to be Espeon with the moveset Confusion and Psychic. This Pokemon is good as a budget type Psychic type attacker, but it does not compare to Mewtwo even with the worst IV spread possible. The next Eeveelution is going to be Glaceon with Frost Breath and Avalanche. This Pokemon is actually really awesome in the Ice type category. It ranked as one of the top 3 for a really long time. 25 candy, under an Ice Lure, that's all it takes to get this Pokemon. It's really good in terms of the budget category. And then finally, an Eeveelution that wasn't added in last year's video, Sylveon with Charm and Dazzling Gleam. This Pokemon is not as good as Togekiss or Gardevoir, but it definitely functions as a budget type Eeveelution for sure. Now the downside here is that to evolve Sylveon, you are going to need 70 hearts as its buddy, which really doesn't take that long, but for some people that could be a little bit off-putting. Either way though, if you don't have the resources for Gardevoir or Togekiss, Sylveon is a great option of choice. Next up, let's talk about our 50 candy evolution. So I included this on the list mainly because 50 candy doesn't really require that much, and if you catch them in the wild weather boosted, then you're pretty much just good to go. So our first 2 Pokemon are going to be Darmanitan and Galarian Darmanitan. So Darmanitan in its normal form is going to be a Fire-type Pokemon. The moveset you want to have is going to be Fire Fang and Overheat, and this evolves from Darumaka. Now the really cool thing about Darmanitan is that it's one of the best Fire-type attackers in the game currently, and it's actually a budget-type Pokemon. It's pretty nice that this Pokemon eventually got added to this list. Previously, this Pokemon was super rare to get. But eventually, over time with events, this Pokemon has become a more frequent option that is featured, and the same can be said for its Galarian form as well, which will be functioning as an Ice-type attacker. This is actually the best Ice-type attacker in the game currently, and although it's not featured as often throughout the year, during December we can definitely expect to see it again, so if you haven't got it, definitely look forward to that later on. And again guys, the fact that these 2 only cost 50 candy to evolve is pretty incredible considering how meta-relevant they actually are. Following that, our next 50 candy Pokemon is going to be Kingler with Bubble and Crabhammer. Kingler has honestly become so much more meta-relevant ever since it got Crabhammer. Like, it's not going to be super meta-relevant like some of the other water-type options, but it only costs 50 candy, and Krabby is pretty common during certain events. So again, if you guys have Kingler, it's definitely a good Pokemon to add to your water-type list. Next up, we're going to have Rampardos, a rock-type Pokemon which evolves from Craniados. This Pokemon is ideally going to want to have Smackdown and Rock Slide. We actually had a research day not too long ago featuring Craniados and Shieldon, so hopefully some of you guys actually got some candy on this with some good IVs. It's definitely worth getting up to level 30. I mean, I wouldn't say like it's crazy good because it is a little bit of a glass cannon, and you'll have better options later on in the future, so I wouldn't go like insane over this Pokemon in terms of powering it up. But if you already caught some in the wild that are like really high level, then it's definitely going to be a good option to add to your rock type team. Following that, we're going to have Honchkrow in the flying type category, which evolves from Murkrow. The ideal moveset is going to be Peck plus Sky Attack. Now, flying type Pokemon really don't have like a ton of meta relevance in the raid/gym meta, but I do like to include them because there are certain bosses that actually have like a double weakness to flying type Pokemon, so it does definitely make sense to have these in your arsenal. Again, Honchkrow is a really good budget type option. Murkrow is actually not as common in the wild anymore, but if you are able to get some, or maybe you just have some from when you played previously in the game, it's definitely worth adding to your list. The next Pokemon is going to be Granbull, a fairy type attacker, and this evolves from Snubbull. Snubbull is actually a pretty common Pokemon you would see in the wild. The ideal moveset is going to be Charm plus Play Rough, and again, this functions a little bit worse than Sylveon, so if you can't get Sylveon, Granbull's like the next best option, and after that, nothing else really comes close. And then finally, our last Pokemon in this category is going to be Excadrill with Mud Slap and Drill Run. Excadrill is pretty solid. Like, you do have other good options out there, like Garchomp with Earth Power is going to be way better. To be honest, now that I think about it, a lot of these Pokemon that I just talked about outside of Darmanitan are going to be glass cannons. So, I mean, take that for what you will. They're going to go down really quick, but they will definitely dish out a ton of damage before they do. Keeping that in mind though, dodging charge moves would definitely be a preferred option when going into battle with these. Now with the 50 candy Pokemon out of the way, let's move on over to our next category, which is going to be recent Calm Day Pokemon featured. I only have 5 Pokemon on this list, so we're going to run through this kinda quick. First Pokemon that I'm going to be talking about in this featured category is going to be from the Calm Day Classic for Bulbasaur back in January, which was Venusaur with Vine Whip and the exclusive move Frenzy Plant. So Venusaur does actually get a Mega Evolution, making it one of the best grass type attackers in the game currently, and that's why it's definitely worth adding to your list, but also just as Venusaur by itself with Frenzy Plant, it's a really good budget type Pokemon to have. Like again, it's not the best of the best, but it'll definitely hold you up for quite some time. Following that, we are going to have the classic Comday for Mudkip as well, which evolves into Swampert, its final stage form. The ideal moveset you want to have on this is going to be Water Gun plus the exclusive move Hydro Cannon, and Swampert is also going to get a future Mega Evolution, so that is something to look forward to. But even as just Swampert by itself right now, it is held up quite well in the water type meta, so having a few of these in your lineup will be pretty solid. Typically Comday Classic has been very good for some players. Hopefully you guys were able to play during those events, but if you didn't, it's no big deal. The next two Comdays that I'm going to talk about are going to be more recently featured ones. So the first one is going to be Staraptor with the moveset Gust plus Brave Bird, and I believe Gust was the exclusive moveset for Staraptor here, so again, Staraptor is not going to be like the greatest flying type attacker, but it's definitely one that I feel was very easy to get during this event, so if you guys did get it, then of course you have that available to use as a flying type attacker in the future. It definitely fits this category pretty well just in terms of accessibility, and again, that's why I'm mentioning all of these Pokemon, because accessibility wise, if you played during those Comdays, you most likely got enough candy to evolve plenty of these. And then finally, the last one that I want to talk about that was featured during this year is going to be from Dino Comday, which is Hydreigon with the exclusive moveset Brutal Swing. And ideally for the fast move, you want to have Bite. Now personally for me, I did not expect Hydreigon to become the best dark type attacker in the game, but it is. So if you have a few of these, you already have like the best dark type attacker currently right now, which is pretty cool. And then finally, the last Pokemon is going to be a little bit more of a stretch, but for those of you that were playing during December Comday last year, Garchomp with Mudshot and Earth Power being the exclusive moveset, is going to be one of the best ground type attackers in the game currently, and this Pokemon will also benefit from a Mega Evolution in the future as well, so definitely something to hopefully have. And if you don't, and you end up getting like a Hundo Gibble in the wild, that is worth giving an Elite Charge TM to eventually. But you could hold off for now. Sometimes we do get events where we get these exclusive movesets again, just kind of depends. But again, yeah, Garchomp evolves from its base stage form Gibble into Gabite and eventually into Garchomp. The main reason I like to cover this category is because I feel like a lot of casual players participate in Comday but don't actually realize the meta relevance of some of these Pokemon. Next category we're going to talk about here are going to be from 3-star raids, and these Pokemon will give you 20 candy if you actually Pineapple Berry them. So the reason I like to go over these Pokemon, and I went over these last year as well, is because they are really meta relevant, but getting candy for them can be really difficult. And so those three Pokemon are going to be Dragonite, Tyranitar, and Metagross. Now Metagross, you need to have Meteor Mash, which is an exclusive Comday moveset, so you have to use an Elite TM. And I wouldn't really focus so much on, evolving these Pokemon and getting them with their right movesets. My main focus here is just to get as much candy as you possibly can. Especially for Metagross, I would not recommend using an Elite Charge TM on the regular Metagross, maybe like one because it does have a Mega coming in the future. But in general, you want to have Shadow Metagross because that is going to be so much better for you. Full explanation in my top 30 Shadow list video, but when it comes down to Dragonite and Tyranitar, Tyranitar has functionality as two good typings, but in my opinion the second one isn't that crazy anymore because we do have better rock type Pokemon. Previously its Comday moveset was Smackdown, which is a fast move, and that made it one of the best rock type Pokemon in the game, but it has long been surpassed since then. Although, Tyranitar is going to get a Mega form in the future, so at least getting one really good Tyranitar will definitely benefit you with Smackdown. Dragonite on the other hand doesn't benefit from a future Mega Evolution, but it's still a really good Dragon type attacker to use in raids, especially if you do have Shadow Dragonite. Yeah, that's going to be really solid. But again guys, the main focus here is not so much getting these Pokemon. I mean, like, you are going to get these Pokemon when you catch them. That definitely helps you save a lot of candy right there too. But the main focus is just going to be to stockpile a ton of candy on these rare Pokemon that you otherwise would not see that often in the wild. So hopefully that does make sense. The main focus here in terms of their budget-friendly option is the fact that you get them from raids first of all, and that you can also get 20 candy if you Pineapple Berry them successfully. The next category here is going to be the Meltan Box, specifically to get Melmetal. This is one of the most useful Pokemon for rocket battles, and all you need to do is just catch a ton of Meltan from the Meltan Box, which pretty much acts as an incense, and you can get these Meltan spawns every single minute, and you don't even have to move anywhere. It doesn't function like a normal incense. You can stay on your couch and catch these. It's really, really nice. Now, in order to get a Meltan Box, you can get these every 3 days, and you can get one by transferring a Pokemon to either Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, or to Pokemon Home. Pokemon Home is the easiest way by far. Unfortunately, I don't have a current guide that goes over how to do this, but in the future I'll probably make one. I feel like it's long overdue. So we've definitely gone over a lot of Pokemon so far, but I do have one final category, and this is arguably going to be the biggest category, and that is going to be Mega Pokemon. So not every Mega Pokemon is meta or worth powering up, but these Pokemon definitely are. And considering that you need to get the energy from completing Mega Raids initially, you're also going to get the chance to catch these Pokemon in their non-Mega form, or their final stage form, many of them at stage 3. So if you Pinut Berry them, kind of like I talked about earlier with Dragonite, Tyranitar, and Metagross, you will get 20 candy upon catching, which is pretty nice. And actually, I do want to go over one more thing, and that's going to be the new Mega System that was updated earlier this year. So basically the way that it works now is that you only have to Mega Evolve these Pokemon once, and then after that the Mega cost goes down by I believe 75%, and you also get a cooldown period, which is every 7 days at Mega Stage 1, and then at Mega Stage 2 it's every 5 days, at Mega Stage 3 it's every 3 days, and getting it to Mega Stage 3 is super recommended. The way that you actually get it up to a higher level, it's 30 days of interaction, and you can interact once per day, so basically just Mega Evolve once each day, and that can help you speed up the process, but again, you need to have the Mega Energy in order to do that. You can just do the slow road, that's totally fine as well. It'll take you longer, but you'll eventually get there. And it's also worth noting that from these Mega Raids that you actually complete, you will get guaranteed charge TMs, so it's definitely a win-win. Now with that being said though, let's start going over some of these Pokemon. I just felt like I needed to mention that. So the first Pokemon is going to be Aerodactyl with the moveset Rock Throw and Rock Slide. So Aerodactyl doesn't actually cost any candy to evolve, and this Pokemon is currently the best rock type attacker in the game. Next up we have Abomasnow with Powder Snow and Weather Ball. This Pokemon evolves from its base stage form Snover, and it is currently, I believe, the best ice type attacker in the game. It'll eventually get outclassed, but as of right now it's definitely worth getting, and not to mention the additional candy bonus you get from having a grass type Pokemon and an ice type Pokemon is really nice. Following that we have Lopunny, which is an excellent fighting type Pokemon. It's not the best of its class, but it does add a nice additional bonus when you are in raids. I forgot to mention that as well, guys. When you have a Mega Pokemon in raid battles, it boosts every other Pokemon with that same typing or same moveset typing in the raid lobby, so it does definitely add a nice boost when you are doing raid battles. And for the moveset for Lopunny, you want to have Low Kick plus Focus Blast. The next Pokemon is also a 50 candy evolution that is going to be Houndoom with Fire Fang and Overheat. So Houndoom can also function as a dark type mega form as well. Following that we have another 50 candy Pokemon, which is going to be Manectric with the moveset Thunder Fang and Wild Charge. Currently Manectric is the #1 electric type attacker in the game. With Xurkitree coming out, it'll probably get outclassed, but as of right now guys, that Pokemon is definitely worth adding to your list. Alright, next up we have Scizor, which was recently added as a mega form in game with the moveset Fury Cutter and X-Scizor. So Mega Scizor is a bug type Pokemon, and bug type Pokemon don't get too much use in raid battles, but it's still worth adding. Following that, the next Pokemon we've already talked about in this video is going to be Gengar with Lick or Shadow Claw plus Shadow Ball. Don't need to go over this one too much, you guys kind of get the drill there. It is currently the best ghost type attacker in the game though in its mega form. After that we have Mega Beedrill with Bug Bite and X-Scizor, or you can run it as a poison type option with Poison Jab and Sludge Bomb. So given that Scizor is currently in the game, Mega Scizor, you could use that as your bug type option and keep Beedrill as your poison type option, because outside of that we do have Gengar, which functions as a really good poison type attacker, but Beedrill, it's Beedrill, it's still really good. Following that we have Pidgeot with either Gust or Air Slash. Gust is an exclusive moveset, so if you don't have Gust, you can use an Elite Fast TM, which I do recommend actually, because Pidgeot as a flying type attacker is currently the best in the game right now. Now I will speak from experience, I did actually give my Pidgeot the exclusive move Gust, and I can't say that I regret it, so it's definitely worth it in my opinion. And the charge move for Pidgeot is going to be Brave Bird. Alright, now finally for one of the last ones that we have here is going to be Ampharos with Volt Switch and Zap Cannon. So if you already have Manectric, I wouldn't worry too much about this Pokemon, but if you don't, Ampharos is also kind of good to have. It does function as a electric type and dragon type Pokemon, so you do get that candy bonus there, which is kind of nice. But again, if you have Mega Charizard, then you could also do that as well. It just depends, guys. A lot of these Pokemon that I just went over, I went through everything really quick, but everything that I just talked about is meta relevant, and I would work on getting these Pokemon to Mega Level 3. I'll make a separate video going over this stuff more in detail. I just wanted to add these Pokemon to this list. A lot of these Pokemon are pretty easy to get, and again, if you actually beat the Mega Raid, you're going to catch them in their final stage form, so you don't even have to evolve them and spend 100 candy to get some of these Pokemon. It'll just be as simple as, oh, I got a good one? Dope. That's pretty cool. And you can lucky trade them, you can get them with better IVs that way. There's a lot of cool things you can do. Now finally, the last 3 Pokemon that I wanted to go over here are all going to have legacy movesets. It's going to be Venusaur, Charizard, and Blastoise. Venusaur with the exclusive move Frenzy Plant, Charizard with the exclusive move Blast Burn, and Blastoise with the exclusive move Hydro Cannon. As of right now, my Mega Charizard Y is probably one of the most utilized Pokemon that I have in my team. It is so freaking good. Like, if you have it with Blast Burn, or if you even get the Hundo Charmander at some point, it is absolutely worth using an Elite Charge TM on. In my opinion anyways, I just think it is so worth it. We already talked about Venusaur earlier on, so I won't go into that one too much in detail. Blastoise though, it will definitely hold its position for quite some time until Mega Swampert comes into play. So again guys, with any of these Pokemon, if you catch them from the raids, you will get them at level 20. If they're weather boosted, you'll get them at level 25. They're going to be very easy to get to level 30, very minimal resources. More power to you if you actually utilize these and get them from lucky trades as well. And I believe everything I mentioned does have a shiny available, so you can also just like go for the lucky shiny, and that'll be really cool to have as a Mega. And with all that being said, that's pretty much everything I got for you guys in this video. I put a ton of time and effort into making this, but if you want some more additional tips and tricks, you can check out these videos right here. Before you go though, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you all real soon in the next one.